Today we're going to learn how to draw a nose using charcoal. So for this drawing, I'm going to be using a reference image from these worksheets that you can find linked below. You can draw right on the worksheet, or you can draw on a separate sheet of paper. Today we are going to be drawing on a separate sheet of paper just so that you can see the size and you can see it better in the video. So to get started, we are beginning by mapping out some of these larger shapes. We're not outlining. We're kind of just getting the placement very, very lightly where the nose and the curves go. Now you're going to notice that that left side of the nose is a darker value than the right side, the entire side. So we're using either a blending stump, a tissue, or an art brush. In this case, I'm using a art brush, and I'm getting that main value. I'm resisting the urge to get all the details, and I'm just getting those larger shapes of shadow. So on that left side of the nose, there are some shapes that are even darker. You're going to go back in with your charcoal, and then you can layer to get some of those more detailed areas. You can use your blending stump, you can use an art brush to kind of blend out those edges. Notice that there are no really hard lines. The nose is really very soft tissue. So you can go back in with an eraser to pull out some of those highlights, and then you're going to need to blend a little bit with either the blending stump or a tissue. You don't really want to use your fingers because your fingers have oil in them, and if the oil mixes with your paper and your charcoal, a lot of times it makes it really difficult to do any blending.
It's so hard.
And you can really kind of ruin your paper a little bit. So you can use any of the materials that we mentioned before. Here I'm using an eraser that I cut into a small piece so that I could get a little bit of detail with it. You can use a kneaded eraser, you can use any vinyl eraser that you've cut into a small little piece. And then you're going to blend your edges, being careful not to over blend. It can get a little tricky, and notice this video is really sped up. But I'm really adding lots and lots of layers. I'm blending, I'm pulling out highlights, I'm adding more charcoal. But I'm looking super, super closely at the reference photo, and I'm comparing the values. So I'm making sure where I have lighter lights, I'm using my eraser to get those lights a little bit lighter. And then I'm going back in with my charcoal to get my darker darks. So for this drawing, we're using mostly a vine charcoal because it's a little bit softer than a compressed charcoal. The only really dark values here are the nostrils and maybe just a little bit to the left underneath the nose. So you're going to layer, you're going to blend, you're going to go back in with the eraser, and just make sure you are really looking closely at that reference. And your nose will go through some weird stages. Remember, this process, this drawing took a little over a half hour, but it's cut down to about 5 minutes. So it'll take a decent amount of time to really blend and get those highlights and get those edges super, super soft. So really that's it. If you look at your reference photo, you blend and make sure you're not over blending and keep an eye on those values. The trick to noses is just making sure that you don't have outlines and you're really getting those values to fade and blend. And that's it. Have fun with this project.